Hey guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is study tips for ICD-10-CM, that is the diagnosis coding. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue, I'm a medical coder. If you are in a medical billing and coding program right now and you are about to embark on learning the ICD-10-CM, the diagnosis portion, this video is for you. This video is also for those that are trying to brush up on their diagnosis skills. Perhaps you want to get more sharper. This video is also for you. So let us begin. All right, here's the thing. When it comes to these tips I'm about to give you, they are very low tech. When it comes to studying and being in the health information industry, I came up from a time where there was hardly any videos on YouTube. I didn't even, honestly, to be honest with you guys, I wasn't into YouTube back then at all. And there wasn't all this other information that's out there. Obviously, there's more books now. There's more groups, more communities. So there's a lot of different things out there. My methods are very low tech. However, my low tech methods have served me well for many, many years. And it is continuing to help me even still today because I still study no matter what. So here's the thing. When it comes to learning the diagnosis coding guidelines, right? I use the Optum 360 coding books. And a lot of people will ask me, why do you always recommend Optum 360? There are many different publishers for the ICD-10-CM books, right? And there's also many publishers for the CPT. But I'm not discussing CPT in this video. That will be for another video. But for the purposes of this video, I am just talking about the diagnosis coding books. There are many out there, many different publishers. When it comes to who I trust, what I really like, I like Optum 360 because of the simple fact that they have very comprehensive books. Yes, there are probably other ones that are comprehensive as well, but when it comes to the structure and the setup of the book, I particularly like this type of book. So Optum 360, this is not an ad for them, but I am just letting you guys know what I like and what I choose. So when I am finding myself needing to brush back up on the guidelines or brush back up on coding, perhaps there's a particular specialty that I have not been paying particularly close attention to and I need to brush up on it, I will go back to the book itself and literally open the book and read the book. It is about doing the heavy lifting, and reading is part of the heavy lifting. Whenever you guys hear me say, you guys, you got to do the heavy lifting, that's what I mean. Reading, doing flashcards, spending time watching videos, things like that. For me, there are no apps. People were asking me that a couple days ago. Blue, do you know any apps? Do you know anything that can help me to learn this? It's the heavy lifting, guys. And no, I don't know apps because the guidelines get updated every year and the codes get updated every year. Some codes get added, some codes get deleted. So these things that are normal for other things, like other learning things, like apps for like learning medical terminology, anatomy, and physio, that kind of helps for them. But for me, I'm never looking for like apps for coding guidelines or diagnosis coding because it's always going to change. So that's why I always stick to the book. The book will never let you down. So I use, again, Optum 360. And what I do is what I recommend if you are starting with the coding guidelines and maybe you haven't gotten into how to look up codes yet in the book, but you're needing to start with the coding guidelines. How do you study them? You read them. You make flashcards out of them. You read them repeatedly. So in the ICD-10-CM book by Optum 360, the guidelines are 32 pages or 64 pages because they're front and back, obviously. But it's broken into 4 sections, and that's the standard for all the guidelines. It is broken into 4 sections. The section 1 being the largest because it is broken down by specialty and all the chapters. So When you look up the guidelines, because you can also find them on the internet, and I will leave a link for the guidelines that are available on the internet. So if you don't have your book right now, you could always use the ones from the internet. It's like 100 and something pages. Okay, so just so you guys know, but don't get scared. It's literally just because of the font size. That's what makes it different when you're reading it online versus reading it from the book. But I do recommend that you read the guidelines once per week in one sitting, usually in one sitting. If you have to break it up to do 10 pages and then just break it up that way, that is totally fine. The point of getting very sharp when it comes to the guidelines is so that you know what you're talking about. A lot of the confusion that happens is not knowing the rules. And when you don't know the rules, that's what really can throw you off. So having a good foundation of those rules is really going to help you. Well, Blue, I don't want to do all that. I don't want to keep reading. Well, then you could always, again, make the flashcards for the sections that you feel are most confusing to you. If you get through the guidelines and for the most part you understand a lot of it, but there are certain sections like sepsis coding, any of that, you want to make flashcards for yourself. You want to concentrate on those areas that you know are tripping you up. If it is mom and baby guidelines that are messing you up, go for those. If it's injury guidelines that's messing you up, go for those. The point is you have to make time to study and read these guidelines. And like I said, once per week is going to really serve you better in the long run, because you're going to be able to say, okay, I remember that. I remember that, and I can recall that. You don't have to understand everything that you're reading the second that you read it. And that's a misconception that a lot of people have. Well, I'm reading it, but I don't understand what I'm reading. That's fine. Keep reading it, because you're not going to understand it. Do you think I understood it the first time that I read it? Heck no. I was just as confused too, but I kept reading it. And that is the point. The byproduct of when you read the guidelines like that is that you get faster at reading. When you get faster at reading, when you're getting ready to take your certification exam, you're going to be able to get through at a very good pace because you've been reading and you've been spending the time to invest in getting yourself faster and faster. The speed will come after a while, but you have to be putting in the work. You have to be reading the guidelines and going over flashcards and things like that. Yes, I do recommend doing flashcards because of the simple fact that when you connect your brain and your body into an action, the information is going to stick a lot better. And a lot of times people are like, well, Blue, I don't want to write flashcards. These methods help me, and I'm a successful medical coder because of it. If you want to have these tips, great. If you don't want to follow them, hey, it's up to you. Everybody learns differently, but I'm letting you guys know that this is the way that has helped me best to learn. And a lot of times when you are doing things the old-fashioned way, it can soak in a lot better than these little quick things where you're not going to retain things as well. To me, when I see like these shortcut methods that don't really, you're covering a lot of ground, but you're not absorbing it. Or you may be absorbing it, but you're not absorbing the full impact, the full weight of what it is that you're trying to study. So that's why I don't recommend these little shortcut methods, right? The other great thing about the Optum360 ICD-10-CM book is that at the beginning of every single chapter, they have a section where they talk about examples. They give examples of like really weird scenarios and things like that. So it'll help you to sort of be like, okay, that I get, now I understand. So it'll put it into an example form for you and you'll be like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. So there's a lot of really good ones. They have like lots of examples like about asthma and things like that. It's just every year it just gets better and better, I think, if you ask me. But if you take the time to, when you get your book, if you got the Optum360 coding book, to look at those beginning of the chapters, the little example scenarios, is really going to serve you a long way if you do that. And just reading them and going over them and not trying to sit there and overthink about, well, what about this and what about this? And I don't understand what I'm reading. Just keep reading it. because after a while, you're going to have that click. I always get that. Like, even in the beginning, like sometimes I have to take a couple of runs at things because I'm like, that didn't make sense. Or I have to be like, okay. And I have to reread it again myself because, I mean, it happens to me too. And I'm a reader, and that's what I love to do. I love to study. I love to read. And I read the New England Journal of Medicine. Do I always understand what's in that book? The magazine? No. But I still continue to read. And now I've gotten so much better from where I started, right? Now I'm starting to understand a lot better. Can I always pronounce some of the words? Heck no. But it doesn't stop me from continuing to read them. I've heard from people who get very discouraged because they feel like they can't pronounce the word. It's okay if you can't pronounce the words. I have an example that I have. I used to call sebaceous hibiscus. Don't ask me why. But I would literally say it that way. And one day this other coder was like, you know, it's sebaceous. And I go, is that how it's pronounced? Oops. But I was able to correct myself. So it's fine if you don't know how to say it or if you say it wrong. Well, if somebody is kind enough, they'll let you know what the correct pronunciation is. Or you can always go to Google and ask Google, how do you pronounce whatever word you're trying to pronounce? And sometimes even when you mispronounce it, it will still recognize what you're trying to say, and it'll pronounce it correctly for you. And there's also another thing. There's also pronunciation videos on YouTube, which is really awesome, right? So they have a lot of pronunciation videos for these really complicated words for medical terminology that you might get stuck on, and you're like, how do you say that? And you don't want to look, like you don't know what you're doing. You can always look those up. What was the other one? Adipose, right? I said adipose, which is like fatty tissue. I was saying adipose. And one of the PAs caught me and he was like, Bleu is actually adipose. I go, it's actually adipose. And of course he laughs because I'm teasing him now. And of course I'm embarrassed because I've been saying adipose the whole time and no one ever said anything. And I don't know why. Don't ask me why I stuck an N in there, but I did. Okay. And that's what happened. But when you are studying, it does help to expand your knowledge base. So that is what I recommend. There is a website called justcoding.com. Again, not an ad for justcoding.com, but they have 2 different types of subscriptions. I can't talk today, guys. 2 different types of subscriptions. They have a free subscription and they have a paid subscription. The free subscription that you can apply for gives you access to a bunch of free quizzes. They are like 5-question quizzes. They have diagnosis coding. They have the procedure coding for inpatient and an outpatient. And it is a great way to practice with your book. Once you start getting practice with the book, it's going to be a lot easier for you. And these little quizzes on justcoding.com are amazing. And they also have access to some articles. If you choose to get the free, if you choose to get the paid subscription, if you choose to get the paid subscription, they do have articles that you can access as well. So that it is just really awesome, and it's just another way that you can practice. There's also practice workbooks out there for the diagnosis coding as well. And I do leave the links for Amazon, the Amazon links for those that I recommend in the description box below. I leave the titles so that you guys don't have to click on the link. If you click on the link, it's an affiliate link, so I get a percentage if you do click on it, which is why I tell you guys you don't have to click on it. But you can just look at the title. If you don't shop on Amazon, you can look elsewhere. There's obviously eBay would be another alternative to find some of those books and things like that I recommend. So that is my suggestion on that. But pretty much that is my suggestions on studying the ICD-10 book. That is the guidelines and the diagnosis coding itself. It's just going to take time, guys. And even if you feel like, well, my teacher is not helping me and I'm just, being pushed through this course and it's going so fast and I don't understand, I do offer tutoring. I leave my rates in the description box below. It's $25 for the first hour, $15 for the second hour of the same session. And sometimes we do this over Zoom, obviously. But sometimes when you have something explained to you one-on-one, sometimes it'll help you to better understand what's happening. And sometimes that's all you need. So, but if you're interested, let me know and we can get that set up. And that's what I have to offer for that. So, but yes, when it comes to this, it is a challenge that will feel like it's never ending, but eventually you will start to get better. You will start to get faster. You will start to get stronger. Trust me. The thing that you can't do is give up, because that's the only way to fail, right? Is to give up. But if you keep going, then nothing can stop you, right? So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. A little short today, but that's okay because it is just study tips. If you haven't had a chance to, I hope you hit that subscribe button, like this video, share it if it helped you, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye!